All right. First, I have to find the place. Okay. Um.
Okay.
No, I'm here. Hold on.
I wasn't talking to you.
Oh, okay. I should put a place mark. That would be much easier. This is Perik. We're in Perik Ravi. One minute. I think we're in a Perik Dalid Vahashvi. Vahashvi Hamokim Hashvi. The 7 things that over here was, where's a person obligated to apply the Hacham? So the last one, the 7th is Shmisasek b'maisa b'maisa avoda, when a person is involved in mitzvahs, in avoda, tzedakah, tefillah, or mitzvah, or rishus. What's he mean by rishus? I'll get him on top here. Or tefillah, mitzvah tudas chayva, tudas rishus. Oy, shumachiach mishu, you're rebuking someone. You shouldn't do it if you have even a little bit of arrogancy. When you daven, when you give tzedakah, you can give tzedakah and be very arrogant, feeling that, look how this person needs me and I'm the one who's able to take care of his problems. And the way a person should give tzedakah is, I'm doing a mitzvah of Hashem. And if anything, I have to thank the ani. And in fact, the Gemara, we've discussed this way back. There's a Yosef Mimasha, ani tzarich es ha'osher, osher tzarich es ha'ani. More than the poor person needs the wealthy person, which is the way the world looks at it. But our Torah looks at it differently, is the wealthy person needs the poor person. The poor person, Hashem will take care of him.
Sorry, I know it's slightly off topic, but can you give tzedakah to a goy?
If I'm not mistaken, we give tzedakah b'darkei shalom only. There shouldn't be enmity.
Well, there was a situation yesterday where this person, they're in very, very, very bad financial situation, and they were about to lose their electricity. And they needed like a little bit of bridge money in order to kind of make sure they didn't lose electricity. So would you still get a mitzvah tzedakah to give to them?
Look, Ron, I'm not 100% sure. Okay, but from what I think is that it's not a mitzvah tzedakah, but it still says, like in a case like that, it would create enmity if you wouldn't participate. And they would say, oh, look, the religious Jews or the Jews, they're letting this guy fall and they're not helping him out. So you're supposed to give. But whether it's really tzedakah, I don't think so.
Interesting.
But there are things we do, because of Darkei Shalom and Ava. Shouldn't be Ava. That's one of them. Okay. I mean, the pasuk, it says, in all of Sukkim, it talks about helping out your fellow Jew. I remember, Ozev, Pazev, to see your Reyechav, Neufel, and we always darshan those words to mean, your fellow Jew. So, there's just an association. So something happened very, very long ago when this is mamish light years ago. We had a seminary girl over for Shabbos, and the discussion came up about kibbut of the aim. And she was bringing up that she heard Rabbeim tell the Talmidim not to listen to their parents. And I said, look, I don't know. I don't know if what you're saying is true. I don't know. You need to know the situation. I don't know about that. I said, but tell me something. I said to her, why do you listen to your parents? And she got this like bewildered look on her face and said, what do you mean? Why do you listen to your parents? You listen to your parents because they're your parents. I said, no, that's not why you listen to your parents. And she said, what are you talking?
I know, Pat. Let's go.
I said, what are you talking about? I said, that's not why you listen to your parents. So she said, what are you talking about? You say parents, because your parents, you have to listen to your parents. They're your parents. I said, no, it's not true. I said, you listen to your parents because the Torah says, because the Torah commands us to do it. It's because the mitzvah in the Torah. Now, when you have a mitzvah in the Torah, you have to open up Shulchan Aruch and you have to learn Hilchas Kibbut Avim. And whatever the halacha says, that's the mitzvah. And if it says something you don't like, too bad. That's the mitzvah. And in fact, it does say in Shulchan Aruch that if a boy wants to learn in one place and his father says dangerous, he wants him to learn somewhere else, he doesn't have to listen. So you got to learn, you need to know the halachas. It's every mitzvah. We don't do it because it feels good, because it's what's the right thing to do. We do it because it's a mitzvah in the Torah. And every mitzvah, I once heard, we start off Pirkei Avos, Moshe Kibbut Torah Misina, Moshe Yeshua is a Canaan, etc., etc. And the question is, why is that introduction to Pirkei Avos? So it could be introduction to Masechtas Brachos, Masechtas anything. And the answer is because when it comes to Pirkei Avos, a person might say, oh, these are nice things that Chachamim came up with, And the Tan is clarifying, making very clear that these things are also from Har Sinai. And what we do, we don't do things because it's nice. When you do things because it feels right, so it could take you anywhere. I just Moshe Klaus is on today. He just told me a incredible story. Maybe you guys heard about it. I didn't, about this actor who was nominated for I don't know, the Emmy Award, whatever awards. It was the height of his career, and it seems his wife is sick, and because of whatever treatment she has, she's bald. And there was this comedian. He told me this an hour ago. There was a comedian making fun of the lady, that she's bald or whatever. And her husband went up on stage and smacked the comedian. And now there's a machlokes. Was he right or was he wrong? And the way our world is today, he'll get sued, right? Because when you do what feels right or feels good, then it's okay to make fun of a sick lady. And if a husband stands up for her, how dare he? You don't have a right to do that because you don't have objective rules and objective truths. And that's what the Tan in Pirkei Avos is pointing out, that all of those Pirkei Avos, all those ethics of Sinai, that's how, what's his name, Bunim called it, ethics of Sinai, they're all objective truths. They're not feelings that even Chazal had. Feelings of Chazal are holy, Shabbat holy. They get it from, learning Torah. But you should know, Moshe Kibbut Torah Sinai and gave it to Yeshua, gave it. And the same thing comes to every mitzvah we do. So like Ron, your question was very in place, just because it's tzedakah. It's a nice thing to give charity. We have to evaluate where's the mitzvah and where does it apply. We don't just do it because it feels good.
For sure. I mean, that's certainly not the reason there. I think if you're already doing it, would it count? But I think there's a bit of a problem with how you're presenting it, because we have certain instances of certain characters in Torah that did something that would appear to be contradictory, but then they were then later praised for it.
All right, look, I'm giving you a general thing. We're not going into specifics. You should know this thing when I told you about Kibbut of Aim, just to balance it, okay? Just to balance it. I'm just giving you that concept that, whether it's Tzedakah, whether it's Kibbut of Aim, whether it's Pirkei Avos things, we do it because HaKadosh Baruch Hu Har Sinai commanded us. But on the other hand, when I did take a bacher from our David to Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, because he did want to, his parents wanted him to go back to America and, continue. I think he wanted to go to Baltimore and learn and go to college. And he didn't want to. And I took him to Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, that's how. And the bacher said to me, Shlomo Zalman said, you have to listen to your parents. So the bacher said, well, ask him, doesn't it say in Shulchan Aruch, you don't have to. And I looked at him and I said it to him, and he smiled. And he said to me, ask the bacher who bought his suit. And ask the bacher, when he gets engaged, who does he expect to make the wedding? Let him not be such a big knock and say, I don't have to listen to my parents. The Shulchan Aruch said doesn't have to do it. I'm ready to go alone. You're ready to go alone? And Shlomo Zalman said, no. You listen to your parents. They want you to go to Baltimore. You'll learn there well, and you go to the college. So you do need das chachomim to know how and where. That's not the point here. The point is just that, putting your question into the bigger picture, and it was very well taken. You know what I mean? And my impression is that's not stucca, but it does say in Shulchan Aruch to give mitzad eva, not to cause enmity.
Sorry, not to be too much of a pain in the butt, but that example is not a very good example, because if we know, and I think it's somewhere in Torah that, like, if your father says you should break Shabbos, you don't break Shabbos, right? So you can say, well, who's going to pay for your wedding? Who's going to pay for this? You can use the same logic in this particular case. So I don't really see how that particular argument stands when it doesn't work in every situation.
Okay, maybe if Shlomo Zalman Auerbach was reading the bacher and didn't feel that the bacher was really there and ready to do what he was asking. Maybe he saw on him that he wasn't ready for that nisayon, which is a big nisayon, a very big nisayon. We have a boy this year in Imre Bina whose father was. I learned in Kerl before, and his parents said 1 year, and now you're coming home going to school, not even Baltimore, college, and he said no, and he was ready. He said no, and the parents said, well, we're cutting you off, and your sister's getting married, and you're not coming to the wedding. And he said, I'm really sorry, but this is what's important to me in my life now, and I have to do it. I'm not saying right or wrong, but I guess what Shlomo Zalman maybe saw on this bacher that he wasn't ready to do that, and therefore he told them, and he was, in any case, the idea just is that we don't do things because they feel right. If it feels right, our feelings are very subjective, and we see it all over the world. There are people who feel very strange things about things and think they're right, especially in our generation. It gets worse and worse. And we have to know that we do things because there's an objective truth given to us at Har Sinai that applies to every single, moment of our life. And your question about stuck is very valid, and et cetera, et cetera. Okay, now I don't know how you got to this. Oh, because we were talking about the stuck. So the Torah tells us that the ani will be taken care of because Baruch Hu's marachim on the aniyim, and he'll take care of them. But the Osher needs the ani so he could do his mitzvah and fulfill his obligation. Hashem gave him and granted him wealth so he could do mitzvahs, and he could give tzedakah. And if there's no ani, he can't fulfill his obligation. So when a person is faced with giving tzedakah, he should be humbled. Says the Chovos haLevavos, you shouldn't feel arrogant. We know that it's a very normal thing, especially out in the world, in the non-Jewish world, right? The rich people are very arrogant. They own the world. But the Torah is telling us, Chovos haLevavos teaches us, you don't own the world. Here's where you apply hachno. Here's where you apply humbleness, and you give the money graciously, and you give it with respect, and you're just fulfilling your obligation. This is an opportunity for you, not an opportunity for the ani, opportunity for you. So that's like kishunois and tzedakah, shumaspal tfilas chayva tfilas rishus, when you daven, or kishumachiachas mishu, when you feel you need to rebuke someone. It has to be done with hachna. It sounds like almost a self-contradiction. I'm rebuking you, I'm telling you you're wrong, and I have to do it with tremendous humbleness. If you're doing it because you feel you're better, it's wrong, says the Chovos haLevavos. It has to be done with humility. And that's very hard. Very, very hard. Oh, Yasa says, I feel mashu, you shouldn't do it even when you have in your heart even a bit of arrogancy. Rather, you should be humbled in front of Hashem, both inwardly and outwardly. And what you're doing, you shouldn't be patting yourself on the back at all and saying, look, I did it. I just did a big mitzvah. And rather, you should be putting it into perspective of all your obligations that you have to Kodesh Baruch Hu. Do you feel that you deserve pats on your back? You're obligated so much greater things than what you just did. As the Navi says, what could I come to Hashem with? Did I give him urban oilers, calves? Does Hashem desire thousands of goats? Rather, Hashem tells us what's good, what I want from you. What does Hashem ask from you, demand from you? Do justice, avas chesed, so on the bottom he says that's hachna. When you serve Hashem with tznius, you do it in a humble way, in a quiet way, with no fanfare. You don't have the trumpets blowing, whether they're physical trumpets, whether it's trumpets in your mind, dan dan, whatever it is, do it in a very humble way, in a very private way. Lost the place. Okay, that's Perik Dalet. Perik K. How do I come to Achna? What brings me to Achna? The things that bring me humbleness, and the things that make it easier. You should always have on your mind, you should always be thinking about 7 things. And by doing that, it'll bring you to Hachna. And he says it's mekalel. It makes it easier for you to do it. One of the things who sheshorish haLevavos ha'adam mitziraso mahaloiven va'adam. Did we do this already? I don't know if we did, so I made a mistake. One of it is to where I come from. Like what am I? The sperm, the oil that starts in a way falling apart, and then it creates. Yes, we did do Perikei, but we'll do it again. Doesn't hurt. Now it's coming back to me. Okay, and afterwards, when you're in the womb, you're being sustained from the Damatuma inside the mother, whatever that meant. We didn't know what that meant. And then you're born, you come fragile, a little baby boy, a little baby girl, fragile. And you start developing level by level, until you hit, midlife, most of your life, and then you start falling apart again until you end your life. So that's a very humbling thought. I'm not, on a physical level. What am I? One of Chachamim said, "Ani mispala misha ava pamayim b'mavar hashetem badam ketu yochel skoyes liyes kavalev." So I didn't know what it meant, but he says, how could somebody who went through twice, maybe it means the shetan and the dam, the urine channel and the blood channel, I don't know, but how could he be arrogant? It's we're really nothing. And when we finally reach sort of our high point, it's just like, You reach the top of the mountain, you start going downhill. There's not too much in middle. When a person gives thoughts to these things, anything similar from how we're formed, it's bound to bring him to humbleness. And this at the end he says, at the end he says, the famous, Pirkei Avos. Where did you come from? That's this. And the next thing is where you're going to. Okay, and then who you can give judgment to? In other words, how much do you really live up to your obligations? Where are we? Yes, no. And it's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. You're humbled. What is man that you should want to have a relationship with him? A short life, lots of problems. It's a very bumpy road life. It's not a smooth drive. It's like you sprout and you dry up. It runs away like a shadow. I'm a bit older than all of you guys, and life is very, very quick. I'm nothing. Okay. We'll also skip to the next one tomorrow night. That's Hashem. What's tomorrow night? Wednesday night. But it was good learning this again. All right. Have a good night, everybody.